right, Oval fans. Now, first off, I know this video is a little late, but just remember I was at home for a few days for Thanksgiving. And yeah, that's pretty much reason enough. And today, I got back last night doing laundry, getting stuff ready for eBay shipping. So yeah, hands kind of full. So now we're kind of back on like a semi-regular schedule. I do have a lot of eBay items ending tomorrow night, so the shows come on Wednesday. Yeah, I'd say this upcoming week should be videos more consistently. Just wanted to open with that. And also just wanted to say, we are on the way to 100,000. I think at the time of the recording of this video, we are at 98,400-ish subscribers. So we need less than 1,600 more. So if you are watching this video and you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so we can make 100,000 a reality. Or if you've already subscribed and you've been on this channel for a while, please share this video around and tell people you know so we can finally hit that magic number. Now, without further ado, speaking of numbers, we're talking about the Oval episode 6, Lab Rats. Now, right off the bat, I want to give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. And I mentioned this in my ambitions video, I believe, but ambitions in the Oval were very great last week. Sisters was pretty good. It was probably the best episode we've had since episode 3. Episodes 4 and 5 left a lot to be desired, but the Sisters video, I'll record it right after this one. So for the Oval, we pick up with Kareem and Sharon at the pharmacy, and she's feeling a bit faint. And to be honest, I don't think they ever explained why she almost kind of passed out in the pharmacy. Was it because of lack of sleep? Did she not eat enough? Well, that couldn't be the case because Kareem had brought her that lunch, unless he had put something in it. I don't know. But he's being a bit the fact that, Sharon is getting a bit antsy over the whole, you don't talk to me about Barry, don't even bring up his name. And it turns out that he wants her, and we also learned that in the past those two had a relationship, but apparently he messed things up, and currently he's with Michelle. But it looks like Barry actually came into the store because we heard someone enter the store, and I thought it was kind of strange that, Sharon and Kareem were still talking, but nobody really turned around just to acknowledge, hey, welcome to pharmacy, whatever the name of the pharmacy is. So Barry came in halfway through their back and forth and was sitting in one of the chairs, and Sharon was kind of freaking out. So basically, Barry's just in his feelings over it. The fact that, he tries to drag her out of the store. Kareem just tries to reassure Barry that, hey, your girl was just defending you. Don't trip. But Barry just pretty much made a mountain out of a molehill and then got into a fight with Kareem. And Sharon, no matter what, wasn't going to leave with him. Number one, I don't blame her for not leaving at that moment, because the fact that one, it's a job and they need to pay bills, and on top of that, given how Barry was acting, I don't think it would have been a smart idea to go with him either. And I'll probably do an entire video about what's up with Barry, because I've seen a lot of people comment that they aren't big fans of the way he was acting in the episode or his character as a whole. To be honest, I'm kind of rooting for the character in the sense that, damn, I hope at least one good thing can happen to Barry, but at the same time, he just keeps getting into more and more crap each episode. So after that, he pretty much has him giving what he gave an ultimatum to Sharon, like, either come home with me now or don't come home at all, and she decides to stay. So then we have Gail and Jason, man, he just got that, he has like the creeper slouch, the head kind of tilted down and the shoulders. It's kind of like, he's a creep. So he's basically telling Gail, it will cost you, but hey, I know of a way out of here. All we got to do is, that reminded me of that episode of Everybody Hates Chris when, wasn't it like a holiday episode where Chris is trying to figure out how to bake macaroni or whatever? He's like, whenever somebody tells you all you got to do is, that means it's going to be one of the hardest things you ever done. All they got to do is arrange for their parents to have a big fight. And in the distraction, Gail can make an escape. And he knows that she wants to see Picky because he looked on social media and seen that girl with him. I believe the girl's name is Rachel. And Gail agrees to go. But we never learn what it cost her. So then we have Priscilla going over to see Richard and telling him how the First Lady tased Gail. And even though he, hasn't told Nancy about what's really been going on while he has been at work, he doesn't even know if he wants to go back to the job. But Priscilla reassures him, like, look, we've had troublesome families in the White House before, but you know what? We made it through together. So I really like that aspect of it. So after Priscilla goes inside the house, she's talking with Nancy, and they talk about the whole Callie situation, how, she's still gone, but Sam is looking into it. Ruth is dead, which caught Priscilla off guard. And then Nancy knows that Richard is lying about something about these days off. Not everything's adding up. And from there, Richard comes in right as Nancy is, kind of, trying to get the information out of Priscilla, who did not tell Nancy what really was going on. But Richard told the truth about the whole allegations against Barry and, why he's not at work anymore, but he's going to fix it. And Nancy freaks out, goes to her room to pray. After that, we have Jason and Jean talking. He pretty much comes in as she's cleaning the room. And yeah, she makes it through pretty well. At least I think the only articles of clothing that Jason took off while she was in the room was his tennis shoes when he sat on his bed to read, I think. But he just, hey, when are you going on vacation? Is that your car was it your gray car in the parking lot? It's like, oh, I got binoculars for the roof of the White House. So it's just like, okay. Okay, Jason. Okay. So then we get back to Barry and Picky. So he's telling Barry about how the pharmacy is actually a drug operation. It's like a front, which caught me off guard. I'm like, dang, this is some deep shit. Not only is Kareem, someone who isn't playing for straight deck, but Sharon is part of the operation as well. And this is something that's pretty much common knowledge to everyone but Barry. And a boy named Gutter, who I believe Barry said would help look for Callie or know where the cult is or whatever, is actually been locked up. And then Picky is, doesn't believe the fact that, Ruth is dead. And, Barry's like, hey, don't put that on me, man. I had nothing to do with that. So, yeah, Barry is getting a lot of information about, various things as he's going around town. And Picky rightfully tells him, you need to calm your ass down. He didn't exactly say that, but you need to cool it in terms of finding your daughter. You want to find her, but you need to just stop making trouble as you're going around town, place to place, starting trouble. So then we have Hunter and Donald, and it's pretty much the same thing as what was it? Was it last week's episode? Or yeah, I think it was last week, where we just have Hunter not giving a damn about his job whatsoever. Victoria arrives, as does Lily. They pretty much have a couples moment, and Lily and Donald take their leave as Victoria and Hunter talk for a little bit. And she pretty much rubs it in his face that she made a little shopping trip over to Denise. And that's pretty much it for that scene. And I have to admit, actually, you know what? Let me save that for later in the episode. But yeah, Denise is someone that Hunter doesn't take lightly. It's pretty much one of those situations where he might hold this whore in a special place unlike his others. Kind of like Candace and Jim on the Haves and the Have-Nots. So after that, we go back to Kareem and Sharon as the police show up. Sharon wants to kind of protect Barry, but it turns out the cops were going to pick up Barry anyway. But for what reason? Did it have something to do with the whole roof situation and picking him up for questioning? Or was it to pick him up in regards to him being parked outside of the house of Mr. Fields, the man that was shot? And, they may have put two and two together, the fact that a gunshot was heard on surveillance cameras right as Barry and Richard left the scene. So who knows? But it might be, I'm more inclined to think that it might be in regards to Ruth and picking him up for questioning, but we'll have to wait and see. After this, we have Donald and Lily talking about this strange shopping trip and what really happened. They talked about Bobby and the fact that Donald doesn't want her to bring it up anymore. Then we go to the next page of notes. And as I said before in other reviews, if I take more than one page of notes, that means a lot of stuff happened. And typically an episode is pretty good because of that. This episode got 2 pages of notes, so on to page 2. Out in the hallway, Lily and Kyle meet up with each other briefly. And she asks if they can talk later. And I think we all know that she wants to know more about Bobby. Kyle goes to see Donald. Not much to say here other than, Kyle wants Donald and he wants him to leave. Once again, kind of hinting at maybe something happened between those two in the past. but I don't know. Maybe this happened during the previous administration. All right, so then we have Gail and Jason. Oh yeah, Jason. My bad. I thought Justin with my darn handwriting. She's basically faking her pain from the taser in order to get her parents to fight. Hunter comes over to see what's going on, and he learns that Victoria tased their daughter. He goes into their bedroom, and then from there a fight breaks out. And if you saw my video I did a couple days ago about Victoria being afraid of what people people think about her, my full feelings on this. It seems to be one of the only ways to get under her skin is to really tell her what people think of her, show her those tweets, those racist and cruel things that are being said online or in articles or blogs about her. It's almost like Tyler Perry took like almost like a dark version of Michelle Obama, like, oh yeah, in the White House, Michelle Obama, if she saw all those things that were being said about her and her family, she would have flipped out too. That kind of thing. And I'm not saying, that is Michelle Obama. That's all I'm saying, that Tyler Perry might be taking the aspect of the world we live in today where everyone has a voice and not everyone can, take that kind of pressure. It's some people, take it hard to even accept light criticism, or they don't handle bullying well. So to actually have a huge percentage of the country that you're in the White House serving over turn against you, yeah, that is a lot to handle. But that definitely was the thing that made her snap. And I still don't understand why she ran into the door knocking herself out, but whatever. Okay, so after that, during the fight, you had everyone rushing to their aid, and that's when Jason pretty much, I'm sorry. Jason pretty much was able to sneak Gail out of the White House. And, then we have Jean leaving for the day. I believe she's at her apartment or whatever the case may be. And it turns out, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Jean is leaving for the day and then talks with Sam briefly about the whole Jason situation, but she says it's fine. I get it. Like, you really don't want to talk bad about these people that you're working for. I think Sam even said that, hey, let us know if something's going on, because remember, he has a lot of power being the son of the first lady and the president. It kind of goes back to Gail in regards to threatening to have people fired just because she's the daughter of the governor, when they were in the governor's mansion, or in this case, the daughter of the president. But we'll just have to wait and see how things play out. But for Jean's sake, I hope that this situation is taken care of before Jason does something far beyond creepy and possibly even physically assault. Pretty much doing to Jean what Gail accused Barry of doing to her, if you get my drift there. After this, we have Nancy and Richard. Turns out she actually has like a heart condition, probably, like a bad heart from, so a lot of stress and whatnot isn't good for her. And we're only 6 episodes in, and she's definitely been through a lot. And we learn, Nancy learns about the whole situation about the gun, but also brings up the missing knife. But once again, didn't she have a knife when she was trying to fend off the cult members when they were trying to grab Callie back in the end of episode 1 and the beginning of episode 2? And if I'm not mistaken, Nancy got pinned down and those cult members took the knife from her, meaning that the knife that's missing was the knife that she had to fend off the cult members. So it makes sense that they're the ones who stabbed Ruth and mutilated her face. So why are you blaming Barry about that? I mean, it's one thing if you weren't the one who had the knife, like if, let's say, Nancy wasn't the one at the house. Let's say, and not to mention Sharon, was she upstairs the entire time? So it would have been different if, let's say, Nancy was upstairs and then Sharon was watching, but then again, that wouldn't happen because, no way she's going to be in the same room as the mother of the child. No, the ex who's also the mother of the child of the guy she's dating. So it makes sense she would be out of the way, so to speak, or not in the house. Who knows what the situation is, but yeah, I think it's a bit weird that Nancy's saying that Barry might have done it with the knife, and no. And also on top of that, she freaks out about the gun, but then Richard's like, hey, well, then again, he did not bring up the fact that Picky told Richard that he gave Barry a bad address. So I'm pretty sure that, Barry would have brought up if he had found Ruth, and not to mention he didn't find Callie. So finding Callie means by extension he may have seen or found Ruth. So him being in that car outside of the house where Mr. Fields lives and Richard seeing him, it's like you should know your son didn't find anyone, nor did he shoot anyone. So it's just kind of a big mess. I feel like that's unnecessary drama. Now it makes more sense for the cops to suspect something because, well, they're the police. So, and I know a lot of situations where, well, actually, excuse me, let me rephrase that. I don't know of a lot of situations like this, but I just anybody know about BuzzFeed? BuzzFeed Unsolved. That's one of my favorite internet web series, and they talk about what is it? I think True Crime is the one where they really talk about unsolved mysteries and whatnot. And then I think they have a supernatural set of episodes as well. And then the hosts Shane and Ryan are talking about these different cases. And I think one of them said in an episode, is like, you know what, if I ever found a dead body on the side of the road or whatever, or in my neighborhood, I don't know if I would call it in, because if I do, that automatically makes me a suspect. So I feel like with the Barry situation, him identifying Ruth, well, then again, you could argue that Barry may have been questioned regardless if he didn't identify the body. If it just so happened that he wasn't there. I'm sorry, I'm talking in circles, but I'm trying to make sense of it. But I feel like the whole Nancy suspecting Barry of doing something to Ruth isn't really plausible to me, because literally his reaction to the picture of Ruth was just as surprising as Nancy. So why would you think? Yeah, whatever. Okay, so Gail meets up with Picky looking like Wednesday Addams. So it turns out that Jason's creepy behavior actually paid off, because he knew exactly what to do by having Gail disguise herself as a staff member, hide in Jean's trunk, kind of like Wyatt, what he did to what was it, Sarah? Yeah, the young attorney. So no, the young what was it, like the DA in practice or whatever, or interim DA, the one that was following George. So remember when Wyatt climbed out of the window and snuck in the back of the trunk and then escaped Catherine's house? I guess you could say Gail did the same thing. So goes to meet Picky. They go inside. She wants to stay with him and doesn't plan on going back. And Picky rightfully is like, look, you're the president's daughter. They're going to be looking for your ass. So even if, they don't figure that you're gone tonight, that doesn't mean that they won't be looking for you. So that's going to bring a lot, like Warlock, that'll bring a lot of heat to my operation. So she wants to vape, and basically that turns into sex. And I will admit, Gail does have a good point. It's like, fine, I'll go back, but all I got to do is go to the front gate, because of the fact that the security wouldn't want my parents to know that they allowed me to escape. So I got to admit, for as bratty as she is, that is a very plausible deduction. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the final scene. Victoria is upset about what happened between, her and Hunter. Max is, there with an ice pack and everything. And she's pretty much saying, you've been with this family since the governor's mansion. You know how he treats me, how he does this and that to me. But Max is pretty much impartial to the whole thing, just saying, ma'am, are you okay? Anything I can get for you? And she's basically yelling at him, you know what, fine, leave. But then tells him to come back and tries to go down on him, but he's happily married. And I will admit, no offense to the actor portraying Max, it was just a bit awkward. It's like, ma'am, 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 ma'am. It's like she's literally undoing his the bottom buttons of his shirt, and then it looks like she's going down on his pants. So I'm going to be honest here. I don't think that it's going to happen. I think that was this was probably one of the weaker cliffhangers, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to go down the way Victoria plans. Number one, somebody might walk into the kitchen. Number two, Max might fend her off. And yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with that. But overall, I think it was a pretty solid episode from start to finish. Like I said at the beginning, the Oval is getting progressively better every episode. I feel like just because we're getting so many nods to future storylines, getting backstory on characters as the season progresses. Like, again, the Sharon Kareem drug front, I did not see that coming. I had no reason to suspect that. I mean, you have Kareem, who looks like a, who seemed like a pretty level-headed guy from his first couple appearances, being attracted to Sharon, asking why she's with Barry, but then finds out he has a love interest already. And yeah, so now we just find out that, oh snap, this is a drug bust here potentially. Well, actually no, because the police were more in tune to finding Barry, not trying to search a place for drugs. Ironic because it's a pharmacy. But overall, yeah, solid episode, 8.5 out of 10. Like I said, I'll probably do a Barry video before the next episode comes out Wednesday. But let me know what you think. Are you liking the Oval so far? Are you even watching, or are you just trying to hold out until January 7th when the haves and have-nots comes out? Some of the more recurring complaints I hear about the Oval is simply the, oh, it's a knockoff scandal. The acting isn't that great. I have to admit, I think that Hunter's performance was actually very good in this episode, just because of his reaction to Victoria tasing Gail. I think that was very, very good because we saw some range in there. I think this was a huge contrast from when Hunter was talking to Richard about the, his son allegedly assaulting his daughter. I get that in that moment it was supposed to be a calm, cool, and collected scene where it was tension, but to have him speak so monotone, I think that wasn't a good move. But his emotion when talking to Victoria about Gail, I like that. That monotone thing that really works more in his carefree attitude towards his job, or when he's having a sensual moment with Denise where you can tell there's emotion of lust in his tone. But I think he did good in this episode. A lot of people are critiquing Barry. It was kind of hit or miss during the opening scene where he's going off at the pharmacy. I can see the acting kind of fading in and out. But then again, you also have to think that some people are just relating that to the fact that they didn't like how he was acting. And I have to admit, neither do I. He was pretty much just lashing out for no good reason. Also, let's see. Yeah, I've already talked about the Nancy situation. I think it's pretty random that you would think your son did something to Ruth like that, especially when it comes to the knife. Now, the gun, that's a reason for alarm, but the whole knife thing, you should know better than that. So, yeah, with that being said, I can't wait for episode 7 coming up in a couple of days here. Once again, please subscribe. We only need about 1,600 more people to go. I almost forgot the number there. So with that being said, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in the next video.